Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. How many of you out there, by show of hands, thinks there is a secret way to become a better public speaker? Who believes that? Okay. Well, good. I can just go sit down because none of you believe that. And what I want to say is there is no secret way to become a better public speaker. Because everyone knows in this crowd that it takes a lot of different things. There are a lot of different ways to become a better public speaker. Now this is supposed to be a 5 to 7 minute speech, and there's just no way I can distill all the knowledge to become a better public speaker into a 5 to 7 minute speech. So I've broken it down into 3 ways, what I like to call Kyle's 3 rules of how to be a better public speaker. And those 3 rules are: know yourself, understand and be cognizant of your word use, and understand that speaking publicly is not an intellectual skill. Okay. First, know yourself. Toastmasters' first speech out of the basic manual is the icebreaker speech. Now, everybody that's a Toastmaster knows what that means. For the guests, the icebreaker speech is the whole purpose is for you to get up and talk about the thing you know most about, and that is yourself. You get up, give your first presentation. By doing that, you start to understand, hey, this is where I did really well. This is where I can improve. Knowing yourself is important in giving a public presentation. Who out there has done a Myers-Briggs test? Okay. This crowd, we're almost won here. Knowing yourself is also about knowing your personality. If you're going to be a public speaker, know what your strengths are. If you're an introvert, and you look at an extroverted speaker and say, I want to be like that speaker, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're an extrovert and you're just like, oh, that introvert really got the points down, but can I tone it down? Sometimes you can't. But knowing your own strengths and weaknesses is where it comes in handy in terms of presenting to an audience. Second, be cognizant of word choice. Cognizant. What does that mean? I know what I mean. Cognizant about makes you sound intelligent. And it really is a great word. And if you're speaking to 100 people, there's probably 15 people out there that have no clue what cognizant means. But if you say, I know what I'm talking about, I know the act, then they know what you're talking about. Public speaking is not like writing. When you write, you have the luxury to look for words that really embody what you want to say. And the reader has the luxury, while reading, to look back, to look forward, to understand what you mean by that word. In public speaking, they don't have that luxury. There is no pause button. We are going forward with the presentation, whether you understood what I said or not. And they can't go back. And if you lose that person because you used too big of a word without explaining it, you've lost that person in your audience. So be cognizant of your word choice. And third, realize speaking is not an intellectual skill. What do I mean about that? How many of you have seen the King's Speech? Okay, a few of you have. Speaking itself is not intellectual anymore. It's more acting. And when I say that, I don't mean you have to be an accomplished actor to be a good speaker. What I mean is, when your audience is out there and they're listening to you, to your presentation, they have certain expectations. And the reason I bring up the King's Speech is, I saw it last Sunday, and there was King George V and King George VI. Every speech that the kings gave was written out, and they read the speeches. That doesn't work in this day and age, as Steve has mentioned. That your hero, Teddy Roosevelt, who was the best speaker of the time, when you listen to his speeches these days, it doesn't cut it. There's something different. When Patrick Henry gave his speech to the House of Burgess, it wouldn't fly today because the expectations are different. What's different? TV, television, movies. Your audience expects to be entertained and expects the speaker not to read a speech, but to deliver a speech. And how do you deliver it? You don't read it. You know yourself. You use words the audience understands. And you deliver it with feeling that the audience appreciates. Now, you've been such a wonderful audience. I'm going to throw in the fourth rule. And the fourth rule, Kyle's fourth rule of public speaking is rules are made to be broken. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sometimes you have to push yourself. It's easy to know yourself and say, oh, I can't do that. I'm an introvert. I can't be extroverted. Ignore that rule at times, because you have to push the envelope to improve as a public speaker. Sometimes to get your point across, you have to use certain words. Doesn't mean you can't use those big words. Just explain why you're using them, or what they really mean. And use your acting skill. But if there is a point that you want to make, and you don't want to flub it up, write it down and read it. Because remember, rules are made to be broken. If the rule does not fit, jettison it. Mr. Toastmaster.